shooting down in the woods. He wouldn't leave it even if he could. 'Cause life is good, yeah!
Hickok 45, your internet shooting companion, coming to you from the beautiful hills of Tennessee. Yes, in the United States of America. That's where we are. Land of the free, home of the brave, home of the guns. Yes, we are allowed to have them here in Tennessee and the United States. We have that right, actually. It's not a privilege, it's a right. And we do take advantage of it. As you can see, if you've ever seen a Hickok 45 video. What are we going to talk about this week? I don't know. I'm sure don't have a lot of topics, but I've got a few things I thought I might ramble about. And we'll have an action of the week, gun action of the week. Wanted to talk a little bit about how we, I guess, conduct ourselves as shooters and gun owners, about being confident and proud to be supporters of the Second Amendment and gun owners, not slouch away from conversations that might come up about that. So I'm going to chat a little bit about that. And the new competition, the dueling tree. I want to talk about that in relation to competition. Had so many comments to that effect in the last week or two. I was going to ramble maybe a little bit about different categories of firearms. And, I'm not even sure what I'm going to say about it. It's just something that it always comes to my mind, and I'm kind of in the process of sorting this out. But it really does come down to what the purpose is for the firearm that you are looking at buying. I get hundreds and hundreds of questions, a week probably, about which firearm to buy and which one that I think is better and all that sort of thing. So that's always on my mind, and how I can approach that. So anyway, I'm just going to talk a little bit, stream of consciousness about that this week, and then we'll just see whatever else comes to my meager mind. But anyway, sit back and I guess sit back, whatever you're doing or however you're listening to this crazy thing, and just listen to the whole insanity of Hickok 45. I thought I'd throw you a curve this week and actually give you the gun action early on, just for a little change of pace. Yeah, last week was a big old gun. I think I mentioned that it was something, definitely not a pocket gun, and I gave you enough clues that a few people actually got it. I was a little bit surprised, but they guessed it. A few did. It was and is that big old, ugly, new service revolver in .45 Colt. I have a video with it. You might have seen it. Big old gun. Forget the date on that one. It's 1902, 1903. It's very early. I have a Colt single action right there in that same time period. I always confuse the two. First generation Colt single action. And one of them is like 1906, and the other one's 1902, I think. But I believe this one, the new service, is 1902. So big gun, huge gun. Big Colt, new service in .45 Colt. It's, I guess that thing is, I don't know, seems bigger than an in-frame Smith. Most of you know what I'm talking about with an in-frame Smith & Wesson, the 44 mag, the bigger Smiths. But it's just a huge gun. But it's a good old shooter, and a lot of history associated with that gun. We need to get that out and shoot it some more, maybe do a video. So that's what I had out here. Why did I have that thing out? I think we've been doing a video where we had that in it. That's right. So, what do we have this week? Well, I know how tough this is. I'm going to try to give you clues I have to be careful on my clues. I don't want to make it too easy, but I know without a clue, it's really, really difficult. Metal against metal, there's not a lot of variety. So here we go. I'm going to do some things with this gun. I will snap it. Okay. Just kind of do what you do with a gun like this. Let you hear all the various sounds. associated with it. There we go. Okay. What kind of clue should I give you? Well, let's just say, let's do that again. That might help you. It's a pretty gun. Very pretty. Very smooth and sleek. Very desirable firearm. That's a real clue. How many do I not like? They're all pretty desirable, aren't they, when they're in my hands? I seem to like them all. So anyway, that's the gun action this week. Thought I'd start out with that. Give you a little metal to metal here early on. Heavy metal. Cool, huh? Let's also get into, I don't know if it's really political or politics, but into a pretty serious subject early on here today. One thing that I talk about, of course, representing our sport the best way you can, most positive light. I sign off with that advice usually, don't I? I try to do that myself, and I may not always accomplish it, but I think most of the time I do. And it's so important. So I wanted to kind of touch on that and things related to that. It may not be as big an issue these days. It depends on where you live. Certainly, and particularly what country you're in. But I guess what I want to advise you're a young person getting into firearms or an older person getting into firearms. Maybe you've, there's a limited number of situations. Of course, you might be 40 years old and just now getting into firearms. You might have friends who are not that fond of them. They're really kind of wary of them. That sort of thing. Politically, perhaps they're not all that supportive of your new hobby that you're thinking about or that you have ventured into, and just any number of situations out there. My advice, and something I've always tried to do, is since I'm not up to anything, I am not a criminal. I might look like one, but I just love to shoot. It's just like bowling, as you know. It's just like what else? Playing golf. It's all it is, except it's more fun, because you get all these cool guns to take apart and learn about, manipulate, learn to shoot, and so many different types of targets, and, you can be more creative than just, golf course or something, or basketball, where the target's always the same, Pretty much. I know, they would not agree, people that play golf. I shouldn't have said that, but anyway, my advice is really be confident about your hobby, and be amazed at people. Really, people act like there's something strange about your hobby. It comes up at a dinner party or wherever people are discussing something related to the firearms, or a news item, just whatever it is. I know there may be situations associated with your employment where you need to soft pedal things, but generally speaking, why? It's not your problem. It's not my problem. It's ignorance on the part of other parties. If they think anything strange about the fact that you like firearms, or that you go shooting on weekends, or you're thinking about buying a new shotgun, or a pistol, or getting a carry permit. Millions and millions of people do all those things, and it's nothing that unusual at all. So it's almost a minority of people, really, that have some kind of weird perception or conception of firearms, as if anybody who's interested in firearms must be a little bit dangerous. Just be confident and mention it as if there's nothing strange about it, because there's not. I don't know if I've told this story or not. I remember being in I think maybe I did. Who knows? I'm getting old and senile repeating stories, but I was in a company based in the Northeast that was oh, I don't know, not necessarily liberal, but there were a lot of people involved in it, probably had never shot a firearm, or that not many, and was sitting at lunch one day and it came up about, my home state, Tennessee and everything. I wanted to know if I had a gun rack in the truck, and I may have told that, and I, at the time, said, well, yeah, actually I did. I had an old pickup with a gun rack in it, and I just had to kind of educate them on how difficult it is to haul a shotgun or a rifle to the shooting range or wherever you're taking it, in a pickup truck, especially a small cab, as most of them were at that time, where, where do you put the thing? So it's like hauling around a big fishing rod or something. A gun rack in the back window is perfect for that. Not to go hauling your guns around, showing off, and that sort of thing. Most people who have a lot of sense, they won't do that. They don't want them stolen, So you just have to kind of, and I just, casually mention that, like, yeah, actually I do, and I explained that to them. And that's what we need to do. We need to not just remain silent as if cat got her tongue. When something comes up about firearms, it's just like someone brought up the subject of golf or anything else. And most of the time I've discovered, if you go ahead and talk about it and how much fun they are and something you shoot or whatever you do, there'll be somebody else in that crowd that will also be interested or has firearms, and you'll end up in this gigantic conversation with them, and the other people will just sort of, okay, wow, where'd these weirdos come from? I didn't know anybody was interested in firearms. There's a couple, and then there's this other guy or woman or whoever at the party or at the crowd who seems awfully interested herself, and because her husband shoots too, and or she just bought a gun or something, so quite often, it kind of turns on them. Has been my experience, and I'm not just talking about conversations in the hollers in Redneckville, Tennessee or Kentucky. It's just it's so many people now interested in firearms. But be confident about it and know what you're doing. And if you're representing the firearms community in a positive light, you're representing your own self, properly. You're not some goofball idiot, and you're not, or you wouldn't be listening to this radio show, this so-called radio show, because the folks, the whatever it is, the 8, 10, 12,000 people that listen to this, usually, I guess, the first week, I don't know, I figure you're some pretty loyal folks. You probably watch most of the videos. You're very interested in firearms. You're probably pretty knowledgeable, or you're working on becoming pretty knowledgeable about firearms. You probably have some sense. I don't think many of the trolls coming through to cause trouble are sitting anywhere right now listening to this broadcast. So the fact you're listening to this tells me you're someone's got some sense, because you have great taste in how you spend your time. How's that? So be confident. Don't be afraid. Don't ever shy away from mentioning. You don't have to just immediately jump into the conversation about the 33 firearms you've got in the trunk in the bedroom, and the 5,000 rounds of ammunition. Granted, there are people who don't really understand. You kind of break them in a little slowly. In ammunition, I'm glad I mentioned that. Glad you brought that up, Hickok. Ammunition is another factor associated with this, maybe even a bigger factor, because to the non-shooter or someone on the fence, if whenever a news story hits about some guy was involved in something, maybe it was illegal, and they discovered he had 5 guns and he had 3,000 rounds of ammunition and all this, and that just hits the ear, I guess, the wrong way. People who don't shoot, they don't. It doesn't register. The math doesn't make sense to them. Why would you have 2,000 or 3,000 rounds of ammunition? Who needs 2,000 or 3,000 rounds of ammunition? Well, I'll tell you who needs 3,000 rounds of ammunition. I do. Anybody that shoots a lot goes through a lot of ammunition. It's that simple. If golfing required a new ball every time you hit the ball, for example, I guess if you were an avid golfer, you golf 2 or 3 times a week, and every time you hit it, that was it. It damaged it to the point where you couldn't reuse the ball. What do you shoot on a average course, out 100 or something, or over 100 to shoot or play 18 holes or something. Well, maybe you'd have 1,000 golf balls in a bag in the garage. You'd buy them kind of in bulk and get a discount probably, just like with ammunition, by buying a lot of it at one time. And of course, that's just golf. I guess you generally use one type of ball. Well, if you're a shooter and you got 8, 10 guns, shotguns, pistol, rifle, different calibers, well, it's nothing, of course, to have 1,000 rounds. If that's all I had, 1,000 rounds of ammunition, I feel like I was out of ammunition. I don't know about some of you. I might feel like I'm out of ammunition if I just had 5,000 or 6,000 rounds. I'd need to be thinking about stocking up here and there for various calibers. So ammunition is one of those sensitive areas, because it just doesn't. It's hard to explain that to some people. I mean, you can explain it just like I'm doing, but I don't know, that word 1,000, it just bounces off the ear, doesn't it? Just echoes 1,000 rounds of ammunition. That has connotations of military. It takes someone, I guess, to the jungles of Vietnam. Somebody's shooting up the world here. If they've got 1,000 rounds, why would anybody need 1,000 rounds of ammunition? It just doesn't necessarily occur to them that just going out to shoot one afternoon, someone might shoot 1,000 rounds of 22 rimfire, or several hundred rounds of 9mm or anything, and then they might shoot again the next day and shoot another 100 or 2 or something. So 1,000 is not a lot, So anyway, be smart about it, but do speak up for yourself, really, and in a very civilized way, in a very calm way, let people know, and hopefully in a very intelligent way, let people know that yeah, I enjoy firearms. So does my brother. My mom shoots. A lot of my friends shoot. We go to a range in Knoxville, Tennessee, or wherever it might be. We have a blast on Sunday afternoons. Just don't be afraid to talk about it. People need to realize, those who don't, there's an average, normal hobby for millions and millions of people. It's just that simple. I do think that has changed, as I mentioned earlier, and that's pretty nice. Again, there's lots of reasons, and we could all discuss and debate those. I think starting with 9/11 and its various issues, political situations, elections. So many people, in the last 10, 15 years have gotten into firearms that were not into firearms, maybe just to buy one, in case worst case scenario were to come along. We have learned, if we didn't know already, that in the last decade or two, that the government, the police, can't always protect us. And who knows, in that worst case scenario, maybe you want to be prepared to take care of yourself. And I think a lot of people have realized that. They've gotten firearms and have learned that they are fun. In the course of just learning how to manipulate the firearm and getting to a range, maybe taking a carry class, and maybe even something beyond that, they have learned what you and I have learned already, how much fun it is to shoot. And so they have expanded that into a hobby in many cases. So, that's why the gun shops are full of people, and there are more gun shops opening up all the time. Gun shows are big, and it's online supplies, firearms, gun auctions, and different things. It really has become so much more mainstream. I used to feel like I was, back in the 70s and the 80s especially, I used to, I always talked about it, but I was a little bit more low-key. And, you always felt like if you ran into someone else that shot, it was like a brother you'd run into, and you just enjoy chatting with them. It was, I don't know, it's kind of like being, I guess, gay or something. Like you're afraid to come out of the closet, depending on where you worked and what you did. But it was just a different kind of environment, and it has really improved. And it's almost no fun anymore. My gosh, you can bring up guns anywhere now, and there's 5 or 6 other gun nuts around that want to talk guns. And really, I get questions about firearms no matter where I am. Of course, now, if they know me, but people know I'm into it. And at work or just wherever, it's like you're the mechanic or something. and people are always asking you what's wrong with their car. It's just so it's great. It's a lot better now, and definitely we need to continue that by supporting, of course, the gun organizations and keeping the lobbyists, there in front of our politicians, but then also keeping yourself in front of your neighbors, your co-workers or whoever, to the point where you're not not afraid to mention the fact that that's your hobby, and normal people. And I think that's the thing too, the advantage of so many people into guns now. It's hard to imagine anybody now almost in the United States not having somebody in their family, a brother-in-law, a sister-in-law, an uncle, somebody that is a shooter and who is a sensible person, So anyway, the myths are being busted, and we just need to keep that up. And I know I've talked about that a lot today, but I don't know what else is more important than that, when you get right down to it. One thing I wanted to mention was about competition, and this dueling tree we recently picked up, and all that. There have been a lot of people make comments since we got that they like to see some matches, and John and me shooting and that sort of thing, or whoever, have some competition going on with that thing. We may do that for fun sometime. I don't know. I just want to, I guess, make you aware. I'm not really interested in the videos that I do and the various things. I have a lot of, I guess, motives or goals, with the videos, to educate, to have some fun, and demonstrate certain things about certain firearms, dispel myths and all that. One of the things I really don't have as a goal is to, get into a competition thing, in videos, and determine who's a better shot, whether it's, John, or it's some other YouTuber, or the neighbor, or my wife, or the dog. I don't know. I played the competition game for a long time, and I took it pretty seriously for a while, and was pretty competitive, and won some nice matches. I was no Rob Latham or anything, but I had slots to the Nationals and IPSC and different things, and had some success doing that. I was one of those guys that I didn't really take it seriously enough, probably. Folks thought it was like maybe unlimited and how far I could have gone that I shot with and everything. I think because I on a good day I could smoke, but I don't know. I've always been so interested in a lot of different types of firearms. I could never just get that 38 Super or that competition gun, whatever it was I was playing with at the time, and work with only that gun and burn thousands and thousands of rounds, every month or week with that gun, and try to shave off those tenths of a second, on my draw, my double taps, and all that kind of thing. Time elapsed from the horn to the first shot, trying to shave off another hundredth of a second. I just couldn't spend years doing that. I did spend maybe a year or two kind of working on that, but I don't know. It was the reason, I guess, I'm a failure at that in terms of going as far as I could have. Maybe I just enjoy guns too much. The lever guns. I was too busy on a weekend, pulling out the lever gun and playing with it and reloading 45-70, while other people are working with their 38 Super and, again, shaving off that hundredth of a second. I like guns too much, more so than the competition. That was just kind of fun to do for a while, and I still enjoy it when I do it. The most recent competition I've done is the cowboy action shooting, probably on any regular basis. And one of the things I liked about that is I didn't really worry much about being competitive. I love those guns and shooting black powder cartridges, and quite a few of the black powder or the cowboy matches. I won the Frontier cartridge, it's called, or the black. Some clubs are so small I've shot in where they just had a black powder category or something, and I guess I won several of those categories, but it really didn't matter. Now, when I was shooting IPSC, I was pretty serious, and when I was into that pretty seriously, You know, if I didn't place in the very top or win the match or something, you know, I had a bad match. I just wasn't happy. And then, but the cowboy action shooting was great because it was kind of therapy. Got me out of that mode. And because for one thing, I wasn't interested in doing what a lot of the people do in that game, and that's the kind of the slip hammer, two-handed shooting with the the single actions and trying to machine gun them. It just never did appeal to me. So I shot duelist one-handed. I always shot duelist category. And you can't just machine gun shooting duelists, really. I don't care how good you are. And so that naturally just slows you down. But, you know, that's the way John Wayne shoots, you know. So, but anyway, that's, I don't know, my level of competition now. Just enjoy it and shoot. And I do enjoy shooting fast. It is fun to see how fast you can knock some plates around occasionally and that sort of thing. But, got off topic there, I guess. But I that's the neat thing about the radio. I can just blab on, rattle on, get off topic. I don't see us doing a lot of matches with the dueling tree or anything. We might do it for fun. For one thing, what do I prove? I'm not looking to show that I can outshoot somebody on the video or that I can be beaten myself. So I don't know. We might play with it at some point. Who knows? But anyway, that's I noticed a lot of comments about that, and a lot of you know that I've shot competition because I've talked about it. But I just like to shoot. It's just fun. I compete against myself in most things I do. So anyway, I wanted to talk about that a little bit, rattle on about that a little bit, I guess. I wanted to talk a little bit about another topic that I have touched on before and probably even in videos occasionally. And I want to do more with this topic. So I made sure I had my cigar relit here because I'm going to ramble a little bit, I'm sure, on this one. There's so many things to say and so many aspects of it to address, but I want to kind of give you an idea about something that maybe a lot of you do. I'm not sure what the demographics are really, and the girls, guys, women, men, whoever, that actually listen to the radio thing here I do. Whether it's mostly new shooters or it's more experienced shooters, or who knows. I would guess it's the same as watching the videos. It's a real mix. So, because, as you know, probably, because you see comments, there are so many people that are really curious, getting into shooting, or looking to buy a gun or another gun that just don't have many guns yet. I don't know if you can hear the rain on the roof out here. It's kind of neat, other than the fact that we've had enough rain, but it's pounding on the tin roof here of the shed, the reloading room. It's kind of neat. But, I mean, you just can't beat the ambiance out here, with all the firearms related stuff. We don't keep things of, too much value out here in the reloading shed, just, being able to reload and all that, and the components, but still, there's all kinds of odds and ends. As you've seen from some of those videos we did last winter, I guess a year ago in here, and we had cleaned up enough to do that. But anyway, back to the topic. One of the things that, of course, as I was saying, you see the comments, and I get a million questions about a day about what gun should I choose. So choosing a gun, there are lots of things to talk about regarding that, of course. And I have mentioned before that it's hard to know what gun to recommend, and folks really want me to recommend one and tell them what to buy. Sometimes that it's a compliment, of course, but I'm going to do some major categorizing of firearms, and I've been kind of rolling this around in my mind, and probably will have a video on this that will be fairly structured. But again, if you're still trying to decide what gun you like or want, you've got those challenges that are hard to overcome, because until you have a firearm and shoot it a bit, it's hard to even know if you like that one. And it might have been just the right size and the right caliber. You had done a lot of study and you had figured out what size gun you could carry or could shoot well and what caliber you wanted, but then maybe you didn't like it as well as you thought, and you're ready to trade for something different with a different type of trigger. So it's a jungle, it's a rainforest out there, isn't it? But by and large, guns, I kind of categorize guns from a practical standpoint. Maybe this will help, maybe it won't. Maybe it's something you can help share with other people that are trying to make this same decision, even if you're more experienced. Just kind of another way to approach it. Lots of different sizes of guns, and it's funny almost how many questions I'll get about what gun should I get. I'm looking at a Glock 27 and I'm looking at an SR9C, and what do you think's better? Well, obviously there's about a million questions I need to ask that person, but the first level, short of the little Derringer type guns that you can put in a coffee cup, excluding those, the first serious guns I kind of think about and look at are, for example, a PM9 Car or a J-frame Smith & Wesson. Now, there are other guns, other companies that make guns that size, but I think you're familiar enough with those guns because they're pretty popular and they're widespread, even if you don't own one. A J-frame 38 Special Smith & Wesson, a PM9, you kind of know what size those guns are. Those guns will fit in your pocket pretty comfortably with the right holster. Okay, or you might go down one step below that to the 380s, and the Ruger LCP or the Car P380. And again, there's a lot of companies that make those guns in that size. Those guns are pocket guns, possibly holster guns. So it kind of depends on what you're looking for, as we all know. If you're looking for something to carry in your pocket that you could possibly also carry in a holster, and you could shoot at the range and have a little fun with it. You wouldn't be doing a lot of long range shooting probably, like I do with them sometimes, but that'd be okay. You could have a little fun with a 38 Special snubby, J-frame at the range. You wouldn't probably want to shoot 200 rounds through it. Depends on your experience and how recoil sensitive you are. But those are pocket guns, maybe holster guns. If that's what you're looking for, a gun like that you're not necessarily going to shoot at the range much. You don't really care about shooting it a lot. Your primary interest is a gun like that you can carry pretty easily, quality gun, one that works. You'll shoot it enough to be competent with it, but you're mainly looking for something you can carry. That's a class of firearms right there that is big, of course, big. You move up to the next group. I kind of put the baby Glocks, subcompacts, whether it's an XDM or whatever, into that category. Those guns, they can fit in a pocket, a larger pocket, generally, not a tight jeans pocket or anything, but cargo pockets, they will work. So you got a gun there that will work in a pocket if it's a larger pocket. Also work beautifully in a holster, inside the waistband, outside the waistband. And they're also pretty good at the range. That's that second level up, at least in terms of my conversation here. Those guns are more of an all-around gun, although they're too small for some people. A lot of people consider those too small. You know that I don't. I like that size gun, and they will shoot very well at distance. But by the same token, you need to practice quite a bit if you're going to have one of those, say a baby Glock or a subcompact gun, XDM, you name the company. Okay, but guns of that size. Maybe pocket, definitely holster, and maybe range, definitely range. They're not bad at the range. Now again, you get one and take to the range and you haven't shot a gun like that, you will wonder if it's really a range gun, if it's going to be a lot of fun to shoot at the range, because it might be fairly difficult for you until you practice with it some. So that's a category of guns that well, I shouldn't say it's hard to go wrong with. It just depends on how much you shoot. Same with the first category I mentioned, the smaller pocket guns. Both of those categories, some people would say those are for skilled shooters, experienced shooters, professionals, okay, because they are harder to shoot. PM9, a snub-nose 38, even a baby Glock. They are guns that are a little bit more difficult to master until you've had some experience. Okay, those guns, those two categories, I would agree, they're better for people that shoot pretty much, have shot quite a lot, and are not afraid of little guns. Okay, and maybe they have a carry permit. They're going to get a carry permit, and that's a really viable category if you're going to shoot and practice with it. The next step up, I consider the Glock 19, guns like that, the standard size XDs or the larger cars, you name it. Most people are familiar with the Glock 19 and the size of that gun, Glock 23. So any gun out there, pistol, or even revolver, that would fall into that size category becomes a gun that is suitable for almost anybody that is interested in shooting, interested in learning to shoot, just wants another gun, they think, for whatever the reason might be. It's not going to be too small for you. It shouldn't be. It's not going to be too big for you, probably. Unless you have really small hands, then you have to be more careful with whether you get single stack or a staggered magazine gun that has a thicker grip. But that category of gun, the Glock 19 category, let's call it, that's the sweet spot in a lot of ways. If you're not sure what to get, what kind of gun you want, look into that category. If you haven't shot a lot, you're planning to shoot some and learn to shoot, you want to get a decent gun, you cannot go wrong with something like a SIG, even a SIG 226, Glock 19. All those guns are kind of similar in size. SR9, SR9C, of course, but very shootable, and you cannot make a mistake, really, not a major mistake at least, by buying a gun in that category. Rent one, try it out, and you'll see what I mean. Those guns are okay for carry. You can conceal a Glock 19 pretty well in a holster. They don't have a long grip on them, and that's a big factor in a carry gun. So a gun of that size is very suitable for carry. And probably most people who carry in a holster, I would guess, are carrying something about that size. Because a lot of people don't like the smaller guns, the baby Glocks, then on down to the PM9. They really want a full-size or almost full-size gun. Those are still considered a compact, the Glock 19 size gun. All right, that's the sweet spot again. That's where you might want to start your search if you're not sure what you want. The Glock 19 size. Okay, now I'm just talking size. The Glock 19 is probably one of the most common guns on the planet. It's one people know about. The Browning High Power that I've been shooting lately, it's kind of in that size category, I would guess. I haven't held it up to the Glock 19, but a gun of that size, small enough to wear in a holster inside the waistband, outside the waistband, pretty much however you want to do it. Okay, not much of a pocket gun. You're kind of getting out of the pocket category in the Glock 19 category. And then the next big step up, I think you're talking about just full-size guns, range guns primarily, but also guns that can be carried. Now, I think the category I'm talking about would be like a Glock 17 or, a 1911 full-size, just a full-size firearm, full-size pistol, full-size revolver, okay? Maybe a K-frame Smith with a 4-inch barrel or something. Just a full-size gun. 6-inch barrel, I don't know. But a gun that's primarily going to be a range gun, however, could be a carry gun. A lot of people do carry a full size, like a Glock 17, Glock 22, with a carry permit, a concealed gun. I find them a little large, the grip pretty long, a little more difficult to manage, but they can be carried that way. As far as a range gun, they're great. They're great. Now myself, I like to back down to that third category, the Glock 19 size, even for range guns. Those are my favorite size. But a lot of people, probably more people, prefer a little bit larger gun for a range gun just going to shoot. So I don't know if that helps any, but that's just kind of a category of guns. And of course, you got bigger guns. You got a giant Desert Eagle and all those kinds of things. But those 4, maybe 5 different categories of guns, I think a person needs to figure out which category of gun that they're really looking at and interested in. And of course, that's based on purpose and intent. What are you going to do with it? Is it mainly going to be a range gun? Then that takes you to a different category probably, or can. If it's mainly going to be a carry gun, you want something as small as you can get it, then of course you're talking about a different category. So I guess I encourage people to think about the purpose, what they're going to do with the gun. If it's going to be a multi-purpose firearm, you can get something like a Glock 19, something in that category, or even in the subcompact Glock category, and I think it bridges the gap really well. I could have plenty of fun for 2 hours at the range shooting any kind of targets with the baby Glock or the SR9C or either the M&P subcompact or compact, the smallest guns in that category. I could shoot those all day and have plenty of fun and not feel like I have a gun that's too small to enjoy at the range. Now, most people would prefer something a step up again. If it's a multi-purpose gun that they're going to carry and they're going to really enjoy it at the range, you're talking about that third category, the Glock 19 area. But anyway, I guess long story here to get to the point. Maybe the bottom line is think about what it's going to be for, what you're going to do with it, what you want to do with it, and then again, it's still you don't know. You may get some gun that you think you're just going to use for a range gun. You're not interested in getting a carry permit, and then you evolve to the point where you want to get a carry permit and you want a smaller gun. Or you get a small gun just for carry. You're not really planning to become a big shooter, just enough to learn how to handle the gun well. And you fall in love with shooting, and you decide you want a gun you can just do anything with, and you might want more guns. So it's never a pure science, of course. But I find myself answering these questions every day and trying to put it in perspective for people. So obviously, because of that, I want to try to put it in perspective, and maybe here, but also in videos occasionally, and so I can refer people to the videos. I don't know how much it helps, because again, I don't know how many times I've gotten a gun I thought I really like it, and that maybe I didn't like it as much, or a gun I didn't think I like more. So, but guns come in categories and practical, and I'm going to do some videos on concealed carry, and it really becomes an important issue in terms of how you're going to carry it. You really have to think about the size of that gun and what your purpose is going to be, and what you're going to do with it, and what kind of holster you want to use, exactly how you're planning to carry it, inside the waistband, pocket. All those factors are huge. I mean, they're huge factors when you're even starting to think about what gun you want. You can't just walk into a gun shop and say, "Oh, there's a pretty one," or "that one feels good in my hand." Well, yeah, a lot of them will feel good in your hand, but is it too big for what you're planning to do with it? Is it too small? Can you shoot this gun very well? If you haven't ever shot before, it doesn't matter how it feels when you're not shooting it. It might kick so hard that you don't even want any part of it after you've shot it 6 times. So anyway, there's never an end to that discussion, is there? Oh well, I guess I better end my discussion of it though today. Well, I've actually chatted more than I thought I was this week. I didn't really have a lot of topics, and thought I'll chat a little bit, if it's just a 10-minute broadcast here, whatever we want to call it. But as I got to rambling, I just rambled longer than I meant to. So we better wrap up. And again, I hope you have some fun at the range this weekend, or enjoyable experiences at a gun show or gun shop. And continue representing our wonderful sport in the very best possible light, because most shooters are just great folks. And I will talk to you all later. Have a great week. You've been listening to the Hickok 45 Radio Show. See you on the range.